Hi, I'm Ella Havermals, Assistant Professor at the Kin Centre for Digital Innovation at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. In this video lesson, I'll be introducing you to key ethical issues that come up when using AI systems in organisations. You've seen headlines like this boasting of AI's potential. For example, AI systems promise to make hiring cheaper and more objective. Other applications combine a range of data points, for example from sensors and GPS trackers in people's mobile phones, to give rich insights into what employees or customers are doing. The ultimate goal is to predict and even direct behaviour, whether that's purchasing behaviour through targeted advertising or optimising internal processes like delivery driver routes or the use of meeting rooms. Neutrality, efficiency, predictive power, optimization, this is sounding good. But using AI in your organization also comes with risks. Everyone means well, but these systems can still turn against you and your stakeholders. For example, Amazon's recruitment tool discriminated against female candidates. In the UK, the government used an algorithm to predict and assign student grades. It discriminated against students from disadvantaged backgrounds. AI systems rely on data, which of course comes from the past. And that means that any historical biases in our society can creep back in when we try to use these systems to predict and shape our future. The people who commissioned these algorithms didn't want to harm anyone, but using AI had negative real-world consequences for people who didn't get the job or got bad grades that they didn't deserve. And no leader wants their company's AI system to make these kinds of headlines. So it's worth thinking ahead to avoid potential problems. Ethical hazards to be aware of include bias, the problem of opacity, and the potential for discrimination. These hazards are linked. Bias can hide in complex models, resulting in discrimination. What we want instead is for our AI systems to be fair, explainable, and to respect data rights. Let's think more about the first two issues. First of all, it is important to recognise that despite what you might hear, algorithms are not neutral. As data scientist Cathy O'Neil tells us, algorithms are opinions embedded in code. She uses cooking to get this point across. A recipe is a kind of algorithm. The goal is to create a meal. The ingredients and amounts of each ingredient that you need are like the parameters and weights of a model. A key aspect to writing this algorithm is defining success. What is a successful meal? Maybe you care a lot about flavour. Your recipe needs to be high in fat, salt, and sugar. But maybe you only care about your health. Then your recipe needs lots of nutrients and it will be low in fat, salt, and sugar. The point is that your definition of success contains your opinion. A model that optimizes for a particular definition of success is therefore not neutral. It's important to consider this in organizations. A recruitment algorithm could be optimized to select employees who make the most money for your company, but at the expense of teamwork or moral conduct. As a leader, you need to think carefully about these trade-offs and reflect on what you are optimizing for. Remember that AI can't give you a totally neutral decision. A second and related issue is the problem of opacity. You may have heard the phrase black box algorithms. Usually this refers to complex models like neural nets, which reinforce themselves and can be hard to inspect because they contain so many layers of calculations. But opacity, the problem of not understanding what AI is up to, can also apply to much simpler algorithms. Let's look at why. Professor Jenna Bruhl tells us that there are several sources of opacity when it comes to AI, not only complexity. Firstly, some companies do not want anyone to understand their algorithm. An algorithm can be a key source of competitive advantage. Keeping how it works secret can also prevent gaming of the algorithm. For example, if candidates know which keywords an algorithm is looking for in a CV, they can simply plant these words in the document in order to get selected. Secondly, technical literacy in the general population is pretty low. Even a simple algorithm can be hard for many people to understand. Thirdly, humans and machines reason differently. It's hard for an AI system to explain why it thinks it is looking at a cat. And finally, I've added a fourth source of opacity to this list: vendor hype. Vendors sometimes sell fake AI. For example, by claiming that they have a new, sophisticated chatbot, but it's actually powered by humans. Like in the story The Wizard of Oz, hype is used strategically to hide what's really going on behind the scenes. So, how do you open up the black box of AI to make sure you are only using fair, explainable AI systems? Here are some tips that are especially useful if someone is building an AI system for you, or if you're buying one off the shelf. Firstly, even if developers don't want to reveal exactly how their system works, they should still be able to offer explanations for how decisions or recommendations were made. How are they guarding against bias? And who is ultimately responsible if things go wrong? Blaming the mutant algorithm is not a good option. Guarding against technical illiteracy is a longer-term issue. Educating yourself and your staff about the basics of AI is a great start. On a societal level, education programs are essential. For high-stakes decisions and processes, maintaining human oversight is key. Consider what decisions are appropriate to hand over to machines and where a person needs to stay in control. Finally, the key to guarding against vendor hype is to ask critical questions. Look out for snake oil, applications that sound too good to be true. Stay aware, stay informed, and stay involved. And that's the point I want to leave you with. As a manager or a decision maker in a company, it's important to remember that AI requires constant oversight. Stay aware, stay informed, and stay involved to ensure that you're using AI ethically in your organization. This has just been a starting point for thinking about AI and ethics in organizations. To learn more about our ethnographic research on AI, as well as our executive education programs, visit the Kin Centre's website. We hope to stay in touch.